What's good, yet, and welcome to another vid. It's always the talk about stage 10 here, stage 10 there, stage 21, 50k Abyss 1, 60k Abyss 1, 50k in NM4, but what about those of you that might have just either started out or don't yet have the gear or the heroes, or that just want to make progress in general, because I've realized that there's a severe lack of clear and helpful guidance when it comes to the earlier stages of these gear dungeons. It's always the talk about the latest two, but what about the earlier ones? Because you still have to get there, and especially with these couple mechanics, you might even be running into some issues. So this is what we're going to be spending the vid on, and that is the covering of the earlier stages of gear dungeons, which means we'll have a stage 1 and 2, a stage 3 and 4, and then a stage 5 and 6, because the mechanics change in between in the beginning. So starting it off with stage 1 and 2, this is all the heroes you're going to need as your core heroes if you want to make it through. The important ones are Hollow, Astrid and Volker. Volker you don't have to replace, everybody has a Volker. If you don't have an Astrid, anything else that does AoE damage is fine. You could also put in someone like an Arrogance if you have him. You could be even using someone like a Hatsid, whatever you have that does physical AoE damage, or even AoE damage in general is fine for the first one. You can then also add in more heroes to help out in lanes you're struggling if your gear doesn't quite meet the requirements. So into the stage we go, and the important part here really is, do not try to replicate the damage numbers of these heroes, just try to replicate the end result. We'll be bringing in Brocky and Volker with, Borrowed and Volker with the extra block artifacts. You're not going to need them, especially not on stage 1 and 2. And also, if you see these heroes dealing their damage, important, just put these two best DPS sets you have on your Volker and on your Astrid. Focus on attack over crit damage, and then just use the best you have. If you can manage, use a right side set as well as a left side set, and that's all you're going to need. So here in the beginning, obviously our Volker is going to hit quite hard, but it doesn't matter. As long as your Volker kills this unit in any way and then Borrowed knocks them away, you're fine. Even if Borrowed doesn't knock them away, you're fine, because these guys aren't yet at the point where they explode and just completely kill us. So right here, Astrid timing wise, what I like to do is start it once the boss crosses this corner right here, because Astrid's ultimate is quite long. Once again, if your Astrid cannot kill the boss before it implodes, you can always just put on someone else. You can always just bring another unit. There is no need for you to use Astrid alone. You can always just put in anything. It could be an AoE physical damage dealer, it could be AoE magic damage dealer, it could be single target magic damage dealer, it could be AoE magic damage dealer. It does not matter. You just have to get through this, and honestly at this point we can already pretty much fast forward, because nothing really changes. The only things you want to do is make sure that you trigger your Hollow so that your Astrid has her rage ready, and then you want to use your Volker ultimate so you can take care of the bottom lane. You can also see there's only 4 units, so you do not need the block artifacts at all. So here for the Astrid ult though, you always want to hold your Astrid ultimate until these guys bend the corner right there. Once they bend the corner, that is the best trade-off between uptime and between getting rid of these units. So then Astrid's ultimate is going to run out, and we have Hollow with the ultimate Rage Restore. So yeah, from here on out, you really just bring in whatever you want, and you just want to take care of this. These two stages really aren't going to be posing a threat to you, so just do whatever it takes to get rid of them. And then here once again we can trigger Astrid as soon as possible so that we can get that ultimate off. Now this should be the last wave of enemies. Once again we have one of these exploding units. If you are for whatever reason struggling with healing, having your damage dealer's ultimate, in this case for example Volker, ready to deal with this exploder before these guys arrive, causes Brocky to not swap away his targeting away from this exploding unit. But yeah, this is then pretty much already it. These guys are just going to walk in, and that is how stupidly simple it is to take on stage 1 and 2. Once again, you still have 3 slots to deploy units. You can let your mind run free. There's enough options. Then here we have one last clone, and that's already it. It really is all that simple. Also, Isolde is not required, could be any other tank. Once again, here, single target AoE, physical AoE, magical AoE, it does not make a difference, at least not for a stage this early. Once again, don't focus on the numbers, focus on the effects. As long as you can replicate this in any way, shape or form, you're good. Alright, yeah, so time for stage 3 and 4. Once again, what you're going to be needing is 2 tanks. We are going to be going with Oleg and Isolde. It doesn't have to be Isolde, it doesn't need to be a Lord. And then Astrid could be any AoE damage dealer still, someone like an Arrogance, someone like Abomination, but Astrid is just the most effective. Then you need a Hollow because you need Rage Regen, or an Eloin or another source of Rage Regen is also fine. And then you're going to get yourself a Laurel. You're not going to need Laurel. If you don't have a Laurel, don't worry. She's just there for insurance. She's not important. We are most likely not even going to use her. I'm just going to show you where to use her. And then the last step for you is to add in a single target magic damage dealer. It does not matter who. The only thing they need to be able to do is either have a 2-tile range, so they can attack in front of Oleg if they're a fighter, or they need to be ranged. That's all they need to do. For this example, we're going to be picking Seraphina. You could also be using Talon, you could be using Hex, you could be using Xena, you could be using Lyra, you could be using Lord Phineas, you could be using Celine, you could use Helga. There's infinite options. You could use Enid, whatever you have available. You could even use a Fulcia. Whatever you have available, just use it. It does not matter. Once again, focus on the result. Don't focus on the numbers. So for us, we'll be starting it off exactly the same, which is not like this. We're going to be starting it off with Volker as well as Borrowed for the knockback, and then Hollow for Rage Regen. After that, it is us bringing in again good old Astrid. As well as our tank in front of Astrid. Down there, Borrowed is doing a good job just knocking back this enemy. And then we can already place in Oleg. So Oleg goes in, Bloodbath gets triggered. We have our units on the field, and then it's time for you to put down your single target magic DPS. If you're using a mage, you can place Oleg a tile behind, so that, for example, were you to place them here, they would still reach in front. If you are using a fighter, obviously place them behind Oleg so that they can reach in front. And that's all you need to do. Here, down there, we can activate Volker's ultimate. And what you're going to notice is that, interestingly enough, Astrid, or better said, the second tank, isn't even all that important, because the only thing you're facing is a physical clone in the middle. Again, don't look at the numbers. Don't really care about this. There is no other clone coming. So if you have, for example, a strong enough Astrid, she could also just solo the lane. But yeah, here we do not have to use Astrid's ultimate. We're going to wait for a very specific timing so that we are going to be able to reliably have Astrid's ultimate ready when we need it. And that timing is this tile right here. As soon as they cross this tile right here, that is when we're going to be triggering our Astrid as well as our Hollow already, so that we can give Astrid the biggest amount of rage regen we can. Here you can ult with your tank, for example, to increase the block. You want a +1 block artifact on your tank. And if the enemies are walking through, you could also put a +1 block artifact onto your Astrid. Then in the middle it is exactly nothing you really have to worry about. You have Vortex, he has enough range to heal. It could be any other healer, it doesn't even have to be a Vortex, you just want a source of healing for the top lane. It could also work without a source of healing, because if you look at these numbers, you are getting the HP regeneration as long as your mage in the middle attacks because of Volker's passive. So you don't even need a healer, it is pretty much just insurance. Once again, we can then activate our ultimate for the middle. It depends on who you're bringing, everybody's different, but as long as you just make sure that Volker clone dies, you're totally fine. They don't have to die as fast, not even close. Once again, don't forget to activate your Hollow's ultimate so that we can right here get our Astrid ready in time. Use your Isolde's ultimate. And then depending on your timings, you either run into a situation where, for example, you would remove Vortex to give yourself a Laurel on the field to increase the rage of these heroes on the left side, or the rage is going to be turning out fine, or even if it doesn't, you could also just bring a third unit for blocks, because you still have open spaces and Vortex is by far the most replaceable out of them all. We have Borrowed doing his pushback normally the way we wanted to. And then these enemies come in. You can see we already have enough rage on Isolde, so we can trigger Isolde's ultimate to give ourselves extra block. Astrid is ready, and if she weren't, we could, for example, again, remove Vortex and use Laurel at this point. We don't have to use it. You can use it to get yourself out of a sticky situation. And you can see this is already how you clear this stage. It really is pretty simple once you ignore all the other things that are like happening at the same time and just focus on what's in front of you. Alright, time for stage 6. Let's look at the team. You have Isolde and Oleg as tanks. Isolde could be replaced by another tank. Oleg, you just bring him because he's Oleg. And Vortex, the only requirement here is you need a healer with a 3-tile range. Also, the healer isn't required. You can rely just on the healing passive from Volker, but we're just going to bring Vortex just in case to ensure that nothing untoward happens. Outside of that, you want to bring Borrowed for the knockback. If you have an Edith, then you can bring in Edith instead, the legendary horse tank. But yeah, Borrowed, we will need him for the knockback, otherwise our units just kind of implode. Then you have Hollow. Hollow, the only thing you need for Hollow is, yeah, rage regen. Either you go with the Hollow or you bring in Elowen or anything else that gives you enough rage for you to pull off what we're about to pull off. And then outside of that you have Volker. Volker's free, Volker's easy to use. So just use a Volker. And if your Volker's struggling with what you're about to see, you can bring in a Wrath. If Volker's doing fine, you can leave that out. Which brings us to our second unit, and that is a single target magic damage dealer. It does not make a difference who you're bringing. It's Seraphina, it's Talon, it's Hex, it's Xena, it's Phineas, it's Celine, Helga, Zilitu. Whoever you're bringing only has one job, and that is kill the clone before the clone implodes. If you're really feeling funny, if you're feeling funky, you could also try to do it with an Imani. That's also possible, just not something I recommend, but you can do so if you feel like it. Outside of that, then we're going to be introducing Astrid. Astrid could be replaced by Lubu, Ardea, anything else, AoE physical, like for example a Arrogance would also work fine. And then we're going to introduce 2 safety nets in a sense, which is the first one being a Laurel. We're not going to be using her, but we're going to be putting her in the team, and I'll tell you where you could use her to make your life easier. And then also we are going to be introducing another tank. Here we're just randomly going to pick Evelyn, another horse girl. So let's get on with the fight, starting it off with Volker as well as Borut. Keep in mind here, it does not matter how much damage these heroes deal, you only care about getting the same or at least a similar result. For example, right here in the beginning, it does not make a difference how hard your Volker hits. The only important part is that Borut does not end up dying at the end of this very first fight here. Like for example, we are going to be triggering Volker's ultimate to help out a bit with killing this unit, and then either Borut pushes it back right here outside of range, or he does a smaller pushback and then another one, or he does it later. The only important thing is Borut does not get imploded once this ends. That's all you need to reach, that's all you need to do, and it does not matter how you get there, only that you do. So on the note of swapping out Vortex, if for example your bottom lane or your left lane struggles, you can get rid of a Vortex and just rely on the Volker passive healing for your DPS on top. Then you could for example bring in a Maul for the bottom lane or Maul for the top lane, or whatever else you want, maybe a Silas if you feel like you're needing single target damage or whatnot. But yeah, here we bring in our magic DPS. Again, the numbers are completely irrelevant. The only important part is that you walk away killing this physically resistant clone before it implodes. Like for example, here we're going to use our ultimate. You do whatever you need to do. Use the ultimate of your character, introduce an invigoration set, whatever you need. Just make sure that this clone dies before it implodes. Then here, at this point, once this clone crosses over, we're going to be starting it off early with Astrid so that we can keep our Astrid timings consistent. And this is also the reason why we have a Laurel there, because Astrid can be a bit finicky to time, and if she ends up on the wrong timing, you can just use a Laurel to get her ultimate back up to where it needs to be. So yeah, it does not matter how fast the clone dies. Again, as long as the clone on the left side dies before it implodes, you're good. That's all you need to do. Make sure you trigger your Hollow ultimate every time it's ready, because it is the way for you to get your Astrid ultimate ready. And here we can go with a early Volker ultimate, just so we can already do some damage against these units. Once again, make sure you kill the clone in the middle, and here the perfect timing is pretty much once they start like crossing Oleg or Seraphina. That's when you want to start getting going with your Astrid, because Astrid's ultimate lasts longer than it needs to, and in this way you ensure that you have enough time for her to start killing these units, but also enough time for her to start generating some more rage. So yeah, that's pretty much all you need to happen. Again, as long as nobody passes, as long as the clone dies before it implodes, you are perfectly fine. So yeah, there we go. Once again, we almost forgot to trigger our Hollow. Just don't do that. Trigger your Hollow properly and you're not gonna run into any problems. What we're here going to do is not use Volker's ultimate, because in that way we can ensure that we have Volker's ultimate ready when we need to. Here, a little bit of a delayed Astrid ultimate. So if you trigger Hollow a bit earlier, Astrid's gonna be ready a bit earlier, and it's going to be less tight. But also we are still pretty much in the, you could say, margin of error, and it's going to turn out just fine. So right here you get in this next exploder, so we can trigger Volker's ultimate to put a target on it, to do some more damage against it. And the goal here is for Borut to end up in a situation where he pushes it away far enough from him where he doesn't die anymore. So for example, right here, this works. Now, if that does not happen, if for whatever reason your Borut still doesn't push it back far enough, don't worry, the run is still perfectly fine. That's what we have these like RNG equalizer units for. So for example, what would happen is we can simulate it right here. The explosion happens, boom, explosion, Borrowed dies, Vortex dies, and then you can just place in your tank you already have. Or also, for example, if your Astrid's ultimate isn't ready at any point, just remove Vortex and put in a Laurel to get yourself the extra rage for your units on the side. So yeah, that's then pretty much it. Ensure that you are able to beat the unit in the middle. You can see your unit here still survives. Everybody's alive. Here you can then use a Laurel if you wanted to give yourself some extra rage. It's not required. She would be able to deal with the problem anyway. And there you go, we lost Serafina, but again, we don't care. Units close in, they're not going to get past. You can activate your Volker ultimate. You can activate that good old Hollow ultimate, and there you go, this is stage done. This is how you can get stage 6 in the books, and I'll be working on like an easier version of 7 and 8 before we then do like an ultimate 9 and 10 guide. So yeah, you can look forward to it, and I hope this helped you out in any way, shape or form. And if it did, consider leaving a thumbs up, subscription, whatever you want. And if there's anything else you specifically want to see, let me know down in the comments below. Peace is what I would like to say, but I actually might as well just show you the gear so you have an idea of how you gear your units properly and whatnot. So it does not matter. Your gear doesn't have to be this quality. This is on a single target damage dealer. What you want to do is try to cram as much attack as possible into these units. There is no inspiration on the field, meaning that the higher your attack, the easier you overcome the enemy defense, meaning the more damage you're going to deal. So this is what you want to do. And then, for example, you get so make sure you have a set on the left, a set on the right. Focus on attack, then on crit rate, then on attack speed, and then crit damage last. Artifact wise, you can see we used a Tome of Horror, so there was no reason for it. You can also use a Tear of Twilight if you have one. Lunacy Visor could also be the exclusive because you don't have to block as many units yet. Lunacy Visor is just there so you can block. Outside of that, we have also Evelyn, just some random ass gear. You can see you can just put her in proper tank, it's gonna be fine. Borrowed just needs enough HP to survive. Alright, he just needs to survive. If he survives till the end, you've done a good job. You can see we have the Lunacy Visor for the extra block, which leaves us with Astrid. And Astrid's gear is again a focus on attack with somewhat terrible-ish stats. Obviously also some good stats on the left side, but the important part is, once again, get that attack high, then get some attack speed, then get some crit rate, and then get some crit damage. You can see we didn't even get the crit cap. And even if your gear isn't as great, you can also just farm up artifacts and put on a better Eye of Sin to make yourself succeed here. So yeah, I guess one last unit you would like to see is probably Hollow. So Hollow, just make sure you get attack speed and rage regen, attack speed and rage regen and attack speed, and then some attack speed, rage regen preferably, or just attack speed, and here's some attack speed and rage regen preferably, but you can see we were able to get away with just 114% rage. Euphoric Orb could also be a higher one. If you don't have as much rage regen on your gear, just put on a Golden Scarab to get yourself more rage. Yeah. Isolde, you can see we had a Bastion Ring on her. This set is absolute goddamn overkill. She never got close to dying anyway. Same goes for Oleg. It's just I don't have anything more here. It's a very new account and it was mostly focused on just getting the best gear ready rather than anything else. But hey, yeah, that's all you need to know about how to deal with this, and yeah, peace.